everyone. You're with Christine and Ask Your Angels, and tonight returning is Alan Green for our regular viewers. You'll remember Alan. Tonight we're talking about We're Evolving. Homonoeticus is here. We weren't sure if I could say that, so thanks for coming back.
Oh, it's really good to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Good. So this is a different thing. This is something we're evolving into right now as human beings, and it covers every aspect of our life. It's multisensory beings being able to bilocate and also being in different places at once, in different dimensions at once. So we're all doing this at the same time as now. So part of our spirit goes in the future, in the past. We can be at different places on the planet, even in the universe.
So by bilocate, it means, does that mean bi like we're two people or two different places, or?
That's another part of you.
Okay.
That you're here, but there's another part of you somewhere else.
Hey, here's something I didn't ask you before. Can you be a woman here and a man over there? Because I don't think we covered that before.
Where's over there?
Well, you said you could be in two places at once.
Okay.
So if I'm here, it's just me traveling.
That's right.
I stay the same.
Yeah.
I'm not traveling as a different person.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll start off with an example, and this is happened in 1973. So it's basically a good example to start off to show you how it happened and how it put a thing in my head. And then when I started thinking about talking about this, I realized that most of my life spiritually has been in different dimensions and different realms, and that's where we're all on the planet right now. And so I said, there's so much things to talk about. You know, we could do 2 shows, literally.
Okay.
It's kind of fun. So what happened was in 1973, I was working at a place called Fern Resort in Aurelia, and there's a Rama Road, and they have a casino there, Casino Rama, and there's a red barn just near the front entrance. And I was driving along and not thinking about anything, and all of a sudden, you know how you drive along, you're just not thinking. There was a white car in front of me and a black car in front of that car, and this motorcycle came up from the side, and the first car hit him. He flew over the roof. This white car in front of me ran over him, and I slammed on the brakes because it was so real. And because I stopped so fast, I thought I was going to be hit behind, like rear-ended. So I just cringed looking in the rear vision mirror, and there was nobody for miles, and the cars drove away, and there was nothing there. And I was so vivid. So I pulled over to the side of the road and shook for a while. Then I mentioned it to the owner of the resort about this, and he's got connections. So he called in this guy with a brush cut and his wife, who happened to be a police officer, and he says, tell this guy the story at night, just before I went to play. And I told him the story, and he started smiling, and I said, what are you smiling about? He says, when did this happen? I said, 11:25 this morning. He said, that's interesting. The exact same accident happened one road over at that time.
What were you feeling when you heard that? What was going through your mind?
Well, I think there's when you have something spiritual or psychic happen that's crazy, and you find out the answer, it's like relief. You know, okay.
Because you didn't know if you'd imagined it,
That's
I guess.
right, yeah.
Okay.
And then it also made me realize there was something more than just what's in front of my nose. That there is something that I can be somewhere else at the same time, because I'm a living experience of that. Yeah.
And that was the start of your journey?
That was the start of my realizing that spiritual things are much more than just, you know, a Christian concept or a Buddhist concept, that there is a spiritual nature to people, and we're all connected. So.
I just want to say, for those of you who've just joined us here with the Ask Your Angels talk show, we're here with Alan Green. And if you have had a similar experience where you know you've been in 2 places at once, or you've astro traveled or anything like that, please chat it into us, because we'd love to hear from you.
And also the most important thing about experiencing this thing is being in the moment. Because if you're too evolved in the past all the time, or you're too thinking in the future, every once in a while you will have an instant where you are in the moment and something can happen. But the whole point is to stay in the moment all the time, and then have these experiences happen all the time. And the future and the past connect. Now I'll give you an example. I was delivering for a delivery service, and I got out of my truck, and I thought about this old supervisor I had named Jeff Peacock. I hadn't thought about him in 9 years. And I went, why am I thinking of Jeff Peacock? And then I walked in. In those days we had the clipboard where you signed the signature, no scanners, and the guy signed his name Peacock. So I had actually been, because I was in the moment, I was in the future. and the future was right there. And so I had gone into the future, and that triggered me thinking of him now. The next day, I go to another place, and I get out of the truck, and I'm singing this song in my head, which I wrote, called Keep Passing It On. It's written by my friend Rick Robson. And I went, I wasn't singing that song in the last 3 months. Like, why is it in my head now? I walk in, the guy signs his name Robson. So I had already been in the future, and that triggered what happened now. So it can be a situation where I was in a mall with a girl, and we're walking down the mall, and there's a outdoor cafe in the mall, and I stopped about 40 meters from the people, and she said, what are you stopping for? I said, there's going to be a fight. And she said, what do you mean? I said, I don't know why the fight's going to happen, but there's going to be a fight with those two women. And she says, I don't see any fight. They seem to be happy. All of a sudden, the one woman took her plate of food and just threw it in the other one's face, and the other one threw the other one's in the other face. They grabbed on each other's hair, the tables went everywhere, and she just let go of my hand. She goes, how did you know that? I said, I don't know. I already was there. I already had seen it happen. So it can actually...
Were you now, how do you know the difference between being physically there, like traveling, or a premonition?
Oh, very good. So I'd already been into the future, so I had a realization of what was happening. Premonitions to me are a thought that it might happen, but I was sure it was going to happen. That's the difference.
Okay.
I never thought of that.
Tell the difference.
Well, it's good because I never thought of analyzing that before. What's the difference? So that's helped me a lot, and it can actually save your life. Because I was driving with a bunch of people at night from Guelph to Kitchener, and like four people in the back seat and one in the front. And I'm driving along, and this car was slowed down to turn to the left, and I held it back about 300 meters, and they said, why aren't you going up? I said, because there's going to be an accident. And they said, there's no cars coming, there's no cars behind us we can see. How can there possibly be an accident? You're not going to render them. And then the person who wanted to go left was sort of saying, well, maybe I should turn left, but I'm blocking this guy behind me, which is me, so I'll just pull over to the side of the road and let him go by. Well, they just started to do that, and up the shoulder beside me came a car really fast, and they pulled over to the side of the road and smashed right into each other. So if you are in the moment and you realize that these things can happen, it could save your life. I could have been a part of that accident.
Now, I had a situation, it was about a week ago, and I was driving down Guelph Line, and there's the QEW cuts off on, has an exit onto Guelph Line. So I'm going down Guelph Line, and I'm going south, and all of a sudden this car is coming off the QEW, which should have gone this way and merged into traffic. I knew as he was coming off that he was going to come and hit me. I don't know how I knew, but I just started moving my car over like this directly into this other lane, and it literally was like this.
Yes.
He came right at me, and I just kept going over and over. Thank God there was nobody
Perfect
beside
example
there.
how it saved your life, because what you did was, as you're driving down the road, often we project ourselves above the car. You actually are above the car, and you can see ahead and everything else. So you can see way past a couple of blocks down the road and see that there's a problem there. You turn right to miss that problem or whatever, and that's what you did. You kind of tuned into being a being that was not only just the car, but you were actually in spirit around the car and watching all the area around you. So when you could actually feel that coming from the side, but you were actually above looking at it.
Too bad you can't get that nice convertible feel while you're up there.
That's good. Sunshine in the middle of the winter.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes you go to like I am so much in the moment and so aware of the future that I'll be at home and Catherine will watch me sitting on the couch, and I'll get up and walk towards the phone, and she'll say, "What are you doing?" And the phone will ring, and I'll pick it up.
I do that, and I know who it is.
Yes.
The phone will ring, and I'll go, "Oh, that's so and so."
Yeah.
And it always is.
And another thing too is that people can project themselves through you and see what you're seeing. And this is so another person wants to see what you're seeing. So I'm on the phone talking to a person. I'm looking at a picture, and they say, tell me what it looks like. And I'll go to tell them, no, wait a minute, just look at it. And I'll look at it with you. And then they'll tell me what it looks like over the phone.
That's really neat.
Yeah, what you're feeling. So then, how you have a situation where you go into a building, you think of buying a house, and you walk into that house, and you say, this is it.
You feel like you've been there before.
Well, you've been 6 months down the road or whatever when you moved in. And also, you go and you buy a car, and you walk in and you go, this is the car for me. Thousands of cars look the same, but that's it.
That's like the time traveler's life.
Ah, yes, I remember that movie.
Time traveler's wife?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's buying a house, but of course he's been in the future. He's seen the house, and every house he's driving her crazy. Every house he goes to, this isn't the house. This isn't the house. And
Nice
he's looking
analogy.
for certain things in the backyard, and he sees the workshop in the back and goes, "This is it."
The first RAV I bought, Toyota RAV, it was going to be a green one. I wanted a green one, and I walked into the place and I said, "This whole place is full of angels. Today I'm going to get a car." I didn't know if they're going to turn me down or whatever, but it was just smooth as silk. Because I'd already been, an hour into the future when I signed for the car. It's
So
nice.
you just knew.
Mm-hmm. And one thing is on the planet right now, we're joining the divine masculine and feminine together. So if you're a single person or something, the left-hand side is your feminine side, the right-hand side is your masculine side. So we're trying to integrate the two of them to be one. Okay? Now, that we're all doing individually as individuals, but also if you're in a relationship, sometimes you're trying to merge that and each other in the divine masculine and feminine. And what happened with Catherine and I, it was about, last year in November or something, I was meditating downstairs, and I felt this beautiful feminine presence on my left-hand side. And I said, hello, because I talked to the spirit, and the spirit said, hello, and I went, who are you? And she goes, I'm your angel. And I went, yeah, okay, but who are you? And she goes, it's me. And it was the voice of Catherine. And she totally integrated into my left-hand side. And so we had agreed this, even before we got married, that we were going to help on the planet join the divine masculine and feminine together. So about an hour later, she comes downstairs. I said, Catherine, do you notice any difference between your left and right-hand side? And she said, well, for the last 2 weeks, I've had no energy in my right-hand side of really feeling too much, but there's this really powerful male presence now, and it's me. And so I've integrated into the right-hand side. And that, you got to give up a lot to do that. You have to surrender to that. Because, you're two individuals, and we're two powerful, independent people too. But she does things I do, and I do things she does now. So whenever I'm concentrating, I scratch my head to figure out something in my mind, and Catherine's never done that. She does that all the time now. And and she always puts her keys in her purse. She never ever puts them anywhere else. So she's looking for her keys. She's dumping the purse out. She can't find the keys anywhere, and she goes, "Where would Alan put the keys?" Oh, and they were in the pocket right there. So, and then she starts.
Did she put the seat down when she's done?
We have those seats that fall down naturally. We like that.
Of course you do.
Yeah. Just start them going and they go on their own.
So for couples out there who are integrating like this, you got to get one of those.
Yes.
And then everybody's happy.
And I remember one girl invited me to a meditation circle, and I said, I'm sorry, I can't go tonight. I'm too exhausted. I had a busy day at work. She said, well, I'll go and I'll call you afterwards or come over and tell you what happened. So she went to this meditation circle, and she came back, and she starts talking to me about what happened the night, and I'm going, this is surreal. I feel like everything you're going to say, I know what you're going to say. And she says, well, of course, you were there with me. I went, what? And then she said, yeah, I was actually physically or spiritually right here beside her the whole time.
And she could feel that.
And she could feel it, she could see me, and she knew, and I was listening to everything, so I was there anyway. But
that's nice if you're going on a trip or something, and you're far away from each other.
That's a good point.
Have you been far away? You guys are always together, though, right? Have you ever been far away?
Yeah.
Catherine's in our audience,
yes,
by the way.
My lovely bride.
Those of you who've seen Alan on the show before, you may have seen Catherine Green. She's been on the show, too. So Catherine's with us in the studio audience.
Yes.
Hello!
That's a typical one.
You going to show your face again? You going to come over and say hi?
All
She's
right.
so cozy. We'll make her come over.
Here she goes.
Hello! Say hi to Catherine.
Hi,
She's
guys.
back.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Okay, we got lipstick on my face now? So,
I actually have a question.
Okay.
And it might not be related, but do you think this evolution that we're going through...
I should answer that question you said first. Does she ever come? Like, I'll be sleeping somewhere else, I'm on the road, and she'll say, I'll come and sleep beside you. And I can actually feel her beside me. She'll either snuggle in behind me or in front of me or something like that. and I can feel her presence, and she actually, if I'm needed energy sometimes, she'll send energy to me, and I'll actually feel myself boost up. So
it would have been great if we'd had that during the war.
Ah.
For all those people that were far away and separated from their families.
I'm saying that this type of thing happens all the time. So it
this
probably
is
happens
new.
with everybody.
Okay, I thought this was a new evolution we were going through.
The reason I talk about this happening is something that's new on the planet. It's already actually is happening.
And we're more aware of it now.
That's right.
Okay.
You're so good.
Because that probably answered my question. I was going to say that, the way things were in the old days, women stayed home, they didn't work, they looked after the house, men were more very, very masculine and went out and did the work and all the manly type things. My question was, do you think the fact that the economy and everything changed so much that the roles changed was part of the divine plan to be able to do what we're doing now?
That's very astute. Yeah, I think so, because I know that on the planet right now, like I've seen over 19,000 separate journeys in past lives with people, and I know that the women now on the planet are not supposed to be more stronger than the men, and the men are not supposed to be stronger than the women.
And
we're
sharing
supposed
those
to be
responsibilities
yes.
help you appreciate each other more to be able to...
And in North America, this is where it's happening more, because we are the white Anglo-Saxon male type thing, and that black men that way, where they can affect a change. That's why feminism happened in North America. It wouldn't happen in Greece or Italy or Spain or something like that as easily.
And we're not going to talk about squirrels tonight.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, you don't
that'd be a little squirrely.
You have to go back to a different video.
Oh, I know that one. Okay, I remember. So one thing happened too. I went down to Arizona, and I was I bought a bear skull back, and you don't buy bear skulls in Canada. It's illegal. But if you hunt one, I suppose, whatever. But I bought this bear skull back.
Is that like to hang on your wall?
No, it's for the spiritual energy that comes from it.
Oh, okay.
You can meditate with it in coyote skulls. I have a coyote skull too. I even have a buffalo skull. And the power of that is amazing. So I'm meditating with it, and I got a new guide. And this was an Inca guide. And then all of a sudden I started getting phone calls, because I have a toll-free number, from people all over North America saying, you came to me in the middle of the night, and you said your name, and you sat down on my bed, and I was crying, and we talked back and forth, and then you gave me a hug, and you said it's going to be okay, and you left. I went, I did? And with the Incas, what they could do was take the human body up into spirit, transport it somewhere, and drop the human body down somewhere. So I actually was, even though I was here, a hologram of me was sent somewhere else. And I had women in Ottawa when I was in Ompa say, you walked in the room as myself. But I apparently had a headband or something like this, so I looked a little weird. But I walked in and I actually did a healing on a woman there. Because sometimes, like you have a lot of women who want to heal women, okay? But it's a man who's perpetrated the crime in the first place. So if you have a male that they trust and feel safe with healing it, it sort of heals the fear of men, in the future.
I want to say too, because you had mentioned you're not actually hunting these. Because I'm thinking animal activists out there, you have a wolf head and a bear head, but really in a way you're celebrating that animal's life. Well, you're taking in their spirit. So this is really a good thing.
Yes, and the buffalo skull, for instance, the buffalo died, and it died young. And so this guy was asked to, render it or whatever, and so that's how I got the skull. Yeah.
Okay.
I've wanted one since 1975. I never got one until, I put it out there and then it happened.
So they're very powerful. Like for people out there who want to try that, would you...
the meditating with a skull?
Yeah. How would you suggest they go about that?
Well, Catherine and I have crystal skulls. We have maybe 20 or 30 crystal skulls.
Do you really? The head, human crystal skulls?
Yeah, but they're very small.
I've seen them.
You can have made out of anything, rose quartz or...
They're kind of creepy.
The concept is that with Catherine, she says it's like a telephone, back and forth, because it's like, hello, she says. But what happens is that the skull has the quality of that crystal, like, if it's labradorite or something like that. It has its own qualities that help you. But then if you use the skull, it amplifies it, because the skull has eyes and a mouth and ears and a brain. idea. It's shaped like that.
I
So
just thought of
manifested.
why we're going to have Catherine back on the show.
Yeah.
Because we actually had Veronica on. We did crystal healing, and when I went over to visit her place, she had these crystal skulls.
Yeah.
And I mean, as crystals go, you could say they were beautiful. They were also creepy. They were skulls. But I thought, I've never heard of them before, and I thought, wouldn't that make a great show?
We
to have someone on talking about crystal skulls. Would you be
we know Carolyn McDermott is one of the best authorities. She goes to England. She's got skulls. She'll bring skulls and show you.
Oh, really?
She lives in, yeah. Oh,
so
she's
we'll
magnificent.
because I'd like to do that.
We have over 2,600 crystals and sacred rocks in our home.
I've heard. Maybe for people that haven't seen the show before, you can tell them a little bit about Ampa.
Yeah, we have a retreat. It's called Goddess and the Green Man Crystal Earth Retreat in Ampa, Ontario. You can connect to it through our website. And we have...
which is www.alangreen.ca.
And CatherineGreen.ca. And Catherine spelled CATHRYN Green.ca. And we have customized retreat packages for people who use our services. It's not a silent retreat or where you come and just have a retreat because it's our own personal home. But if you use our services like Past Life and Spiritual Journeys, Zenith Omega, 5-in-1 Healing Spa Package, Higher Self and Oversoul readings, things like that. And we have all sorts of gateways and portals on our land and kayaking, and it's beautiful. We don't even have any cell phone service in our area. It's a beautiful log home in the woods.
Some people are going, oh no. I think that's a great thing. I have a friend who went up there and she just loved it. And this girl's never without her cell phone, but she actually managed, and she came back just so happy and just so beautiful, and it made her hair curly.
And she also,
if you don't want curly hair, you might want to rethink it.
Yeah, and she actually lives in Burlington area or Milton area, and they didn't have any snow for Christmas.
Oh,
and she got up there in a snowstorm, major snowstorm came in.
Winter Wonderland.
So she got it, So another thing too is you can be a human being and a spirit guide for somebody at the same time. Catherine, my wife, became a spirit guide for me 3 months before we met, and and she didn't even know me. Then when we met, we were not interested in each other.
Were you really not?
And
That's so hard to believe, knowing.
And then 3 months later, I moved in with her. 3 months later, I married her. Realized she was that guy.
Hold it back up, because I've heard you say this story before, and you lost me on. We didn't care for each other. 3 months later, she moved in.
I moved in.
What happened in those 3 months?
Oh, very good.
Let's hear
Long story.
We want to hear the story.
Well,
we do.
Catherine actually tells a bit about it. So we met, and I have a strict rule that I had a strict rule. I'm married now, not to date my clients. It's just no.
Yeah.
And if somebody's interested in me, well, we'll talk on the phone, but we're not going to get for coffee or anything like that. It's just no. If I meet a person before, and we get interested, well, then that's okay, but not as a client.
Mm-hmm.
So Catherine was a client, and I met her, and there's no way I'm going to get involved with her, right? So even if there was an attraction, it wasn't going to happen.
And was there?
She's a pretty cool chick, yeah. No, she kind of grows on you. No, she's extremely beautiful and intelligent and wise and definitely a true goddess. So, that's how that happened.
And I'm sure you noticed that right away because of what you do.
Yes, well, I knew that she had a lot of power and that she was very connected,
mm-hmm.
and she was very in love with her husband who had lived. She'd been married for 27 years to him, and so when I got, she went down to Arizona. She wanted me to come and do sessions at her place. So we're emailing back and forth, and I couldn't do that, so I have a toll-free number, so she kept calling me back and forth. And over the phone and emails and stuff, we fell in love. And when I went to see her after 3 months, we had already decided that I was going to marry her and move in with her, even before we ever kissed.
Now you might want to mention, I was going to say, Catherine's husband passed away. That's not mentioned in there, and people are getting the wrong idea about you, Alan.
I knew she had staying quality when she stayed with a man for 27 years, and he finally passed. So that was good.
And he helped bring us together.
Yes.
Yes, we believe that. He was the angel that brought them together.
Yeah. And when you do past life stuff, there's a karmic thing happening. So when you go back to find out about somebody in a past life, whoever you're trying to find out about, their spirit is obligated to go back with you. So even though they're a human being here, and they might live on the other side of the planet, they spiritually project themselves into that past life with you and watch what happens. And if you can honestly clear it up and forgive them in a past life, It forgives the whole relationship now. So,
That's why past life regression is a wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm. And there's many different areas we're doing. We don't realize we're living. We're living multidimensional lives sideways. We're living all our past lives at the same time as now.
Now, sideways, what does that mean? That, like right now, as we're sitting here talking,
Mm-hmm.
I'm having another life somewhere over there?
Yes.
Sideways?
Mm-hmm. And something could, let's say at 43 years old in a past life, you hurt your knee. And you got a crushed knee or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and it crippled you for the rest of your life. At 43 years old this lifetime, and if you didn't heal it then, you're going to feel that crushed knee syndrome now. And your
I've
knee,
heard that.
And your knee might be perfectly okay. But because you're feeling that again, you have a choice. Either I can say, well, my knee's fine, and just work through it and just let it go. Or you can say, oh, that's really bad, and let it cripple you again.
Now, is that why some people believe when you come back from past lives, you're going to die the same way you did in that life? Because if you died in that life, you haven't healed from that. Is that a concern?
I think that it comes before that. So what happens is somebody will say, well, I always believe I'm never going to live past 30.
That was me.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, yep.
And that was because in a past life, and if you're connected with your mate, and at 30 years old in a past life you died when you were with him,
Mm-hmm.
you will definitely be strongly feeling you're going to do it again.
I really did.
Mm-hmm.
I actually was in almost a near-death experience at 30.
There you go. Oh,
Yeah, and
I'm psychic. No. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was quite frightening.
So that's the more of that where you don't go in at past life and then say I'm going to die at a certain time. It's more that you've already had that thing.
So
It
you
verifies
get that
it.
feeling, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so there's many things like we have our inner child. So even though we're a human here, inside our body, in the very center of us, which is the core truth of who we really are, cosmic divine heart, there's your inner child is in there, and it's actually living along with you. So you start at age 0, it starts out at age 0 too, and it goes along. In year 7, it's 7, whatever. But what happens is sometimes at 7 years old you think, well, this is going to last forever. All my people are going to be with me, and your grandmother that you love the deepest dies,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden you go, oh, I could lose a lot more people, and that affects you, dramatically. And then all of a sudden, 13 your parents divorce, or you get married, and a woman will give themselves over to a man totally, and that stops the inner child for a little while because they're going into the unknown. And when you have a child, if you have a female has a baby girl, that little girl becomes their inner child. And so this inner child really dramatically affects you. So that when they show us your inner child, you sort of go and say, oh, that affected me, and this affected me, and then heal it.
Is it possible that your childhood,
Mm-hmm.
like for me, when I look back on my childhood, I feel everything for this little girl and everything that she went through. But it's almost like looking at my child. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like we're connected that way. It doesn't feel like it's me anymore. It feels like I'm looking at, like I do one of my children.
Yeah. That's because it's a spiritual projection. That you're seeing yourself as a spiritual being there, and you are different now. But you can have love for that and affection for that and understanding for that.
Mm-hmm.
But basically that is you, but you need to detach yourself to really heal sometimes.
Okay. So if there was a lot of healing that had to be done, that's probably why.
Yeah. And splitting happens with that, when there's abuse and stuff like that too.
Okay.
So multidimensional life sideways, the first life we live sideways, we're all living in an animal on the planet. So you can be riding on the back of a dolphin to feel what it's like to be a dolphin, but you're not that dolphin. It has its own soul, its own spirit. It's agreed to let you, feel what it's like. And therefore, if you have somebody on the planet lives in China, and it's a human being and it's alive, that knew you in a past life and loves you very dearly, but it's not going to connect with you this lifetime, they interject part of their spirit in your cat, or your dog, or your bird, or your horse. So 10% of that bird or horse or dog or cat is them. And they can support you, they can protect you, they can have a psychic connection with you. And when that animal dies, it's not the spirit of the animal you're going to miss, it's that connection between somebody else on the planet and you that's going to devastate you. So that's how we project ourselves, into certain things, and we have the whole experience. That's different than totem animals. Totem animals are where, a wolf is your totem animal, which is the teacher or something like that. This is actually where you actually go into a creature and to connect with somebody else. Okay?
That explains why people, like for me, I have a cat and I think of him as a person.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
he's more of a people say he's more human than cat.
And that's a beautiful cat, by the way. And also, sometimes women will say, my male cat is my soulmate. And they're right. He's coming in the future, and he's being there to comfort them now. Mm-hmm. And so they'll get used to the vibration, so when they come together, it's pretty smooth. It's amazing what's happening, nice. Isn't it? Yeah. And now another life, the second life, multidimensional sideways, we're all a triangle, a square, or a circle, or a parallelogram, some type of a shape or a cone. And in that symbol, there's colors. And when you see yellow and green, for instance, swirling around inside, that means the person's very heart-based and very high energy. Now, if they're red and purple, it means they're very spiritual and very grounded. So the powers that be can look down at that dimension and see where you've evolved to, just like that. You know.
By your colors.
Yeah, and they can the colors can add. They don't change. They add. And then the next life, multidimensional sideways, we're living. Was always a battle going on. First time I saw this was back in 1996, and a lady took me to a third dimension sideways, and she was there, and there's these beautifully black, shiny, with silver, aliens type thing, and they're having a battle, and she says, I have this dream all the time, because she's been there. And she says, I think we should get rid of them. I said, well, okay, do what you want. And all of a sudden she shows up as one of them, and she's like a beautiful black thing with silver, and they're looking at her, and she goes, I look the same as them, but they feel that I'm not negative like them. What are we going to do? I said, what are we going to do? I said, you put yourself in the situation. You deal with it. Well, what can I do? I said, look in your hand. And she had a big grenade launcher. She went, boom, and they were gone. She didn't have that dream anymore. So that's I know, it's a bit crazy.
I'm thinking that's a sad story. It's like, you just can't come on the show without telling me somebody got killed.
That's right.
It was
but it's on another dimension. It's not on the human thing. So just let it go. And then another thing too is that we're actually living up to, not all, you could be 12 or 15 or 30, but up to 68 of you are on this planet right now.
This explains why I'm tired every morning.
That's right. Yeah. You're living in a higher and lower world, multidimensional life sideways, and all that. So that's why you're so tired. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. You're so good.
I am.
Exactly what
I get up and I say to Tech Guy, I have movie dreams again, and I astral traveled, and I didn't get any sleep last night. That can be exhausting. And I feel like it. And lately, my dreams are so vivid. They're so vivid. Like when you were describing Ampa in the Winter Wonderland, I had a dream the other night. And I swear this place is real. And it felt like a dimension of heaven. One of the dimensions. But I knew it was real. Yeah. I ended up going to this little town that was literally like a big circle with these huge mountains that went up into the clouds. And trees that went up, fir trees that went up into the clouds. And these picturesque little old-fashioned houses, with the porches. But it was a winter wonderland. It was caked in snow. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Chronicles of Narnia, that thing.
It was, yes, but it wasn't cold. I was not cold at all.
That's beautiful.
And Michelle DeRoche, who's been on the show, she came out. She lived there. And apparently I said to her,
sacred place.
I said to her, do you travel? She goes, I astral travel all the time. I said, well, I think I saw one of your places. But it was so real.
Yeah. I remember back in the 80s, I used to sit in the corner of my dining room at about 6 in the morning, and a spirit would come and take me to different places in the world. So I go to Madrid, I want to go to Venice, so I go to Venice, and then I'd didn't have internet at the time, and I'd go and look in a book, encyclopedia or something, and see Venice. And that's the little shop I saw in Venice, and everything. I was there. It was really cool. So
when I was little, I had a book called, it was by, I think, Ruth Chew. She wrote a lot of witch books. It was What the Witch Left. And it's these kids that found this, I think it was like a little chest or something, and there was magic things in it. They'd put these boots on, and they'd each wear one boot. They'd take one step together, and depending on how many steps they took, they'd end up in Madrid. And they learned all the ways of Mexican people, and then they'd take another step, and they'd end up in another country, and it was the coolest thing.
This is what we're doing. I remember walking with a native back in the mid-'90s and saying, one day you and I will be walking together. You'll walk over to a tree and you'll travel somewhere on the planet and work with somebody and help them heal. And then you'll come back with me, we'll talk for a little while, and I'll say, excuse me, and I'll go over and I'll stand by a rock, and I'll connect with somebody else from the planet, and we'll work on that and heal. And we're doing it. We really are. Because the layers are just coming so close together. Spirits are right beside us instead of separate from us. Past lives are right there to be examined. So
and the higher frequency we're getting to, the newer dimension, will we eventually be aware that we're doing this? Will we remember?
People are noticing it who are open, are noticing this all the time now. They're noticing that they have a thought about something, and it can even be something this lifetime, where you have an issue with your childhood. I remember I was in the shower the other day, and all of a sudden
you don't want to astral travel when you're in the shower.
Yeah, I actually did slip.
Did you take a towel?
Yeah.
Some old lady in some other house.
Yeah. Ah! I was stuck in the wall. No. You can't take any metal with you either. So you can't take any guns or swords.
That goes back to Time Traveler's Wife too. He showed up naked everywhere he went.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
That's a frightening thing. That's like that horrible nightmare.
I was thinking about something that happened in childhood where I got really hurt by a person. And I sent out a thing of rage, and the mat that holds, the rubber mat that prevents you from slipping.
Right.
Just like that. And I went flying, and I would have literally almost broke my back because I would have fallen on the tub and torn everything down. And I went, okay. So our thoughts are very important right now. Mm-hmm. What we put out comes back twice as fast. What we think, negative and positive, comes back twice as fast. And what we intend on happening happens twice as fast.
That law of attraction thing.
Well, not really, because yes, but
more so.
Since Hale-Bopp, the comet, came through in 1997, it went from 6.5 megahertz on this planet to 11.5, and that's when everything happened faster, twice as fast. Okay.
And are you noticing the changes lately? There's a shift going on. I think we've talked about that. Yeah. Where everyone I come into contact with said the last 2 weeks have been brutal. They feel out of sorts, low energy, depressed.
It is really this last 2 weeks, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're connecting with different people. I connected with an energy that is of a certain group of people. And I realized that these people have been in a place of victimhood and naivety and childlike things. And this energy is a common pattern that the whole group has. And that pattern has suppressed them for years. And I know they can just push it through if they want, but they don't want to. They like being childlike and just lazy and stuff like that. So, it was devastating for me to feel that, but it sure helps you understand, what's going on. So then the 68 lives sideways we can possibly be. I went in the early 2000s, 2002, and we did an experiment with this group where we went and checked out ourselves somewhere else. So I saw myself as a girl about 26 years old. She owned her own cosmetic company in Chicago. She owned a Jaguar, and she had red hair and beautiful long legs, and that's me.
So you can be another sex.
I can.
That's going back to what I'd asked you before.
Oh, I see. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, but that's you're thinking when I travel myself, I'm me.
Right.
So that's.
But when you're living these other lives,
you can
that's
be
what
otherwise.
I was.
Yeah. Okay. So, and the time we were talking about traveling ourselves, so that's what I meant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So then, so that's really cool. And then I saw myself. I went again to find somebody else, and I found this guy who had big, thick neck and a brush cut, big belly, and he was a soldier. And I went, oh my God, he's about as far from me as I want to be, but I wanted to experience what that's like. So he is actually me. And there's another bus driver that lives in a city not too far from here, and he loves Jeeps. And I'm going to meet this guy someday maybe, and it's me. He's actually me. So who's the original me, right? I'm the original me.
Yeah, are you?
I think so.
Feels real.
But then with that girl, the interesting thing about that, if I didn't meet that woman, we would have such an incredible connection, and we'd be so similar that we would think we were meant to be together. We'd massively fall in love. But that's just because she is me and I am her. It's different than your soulmate, or your eternal mate or something like that.
And how, for people out there, how would they know the difference? Because if people are out there thinking, oh, I've met my soulmate, now they might be questioning, is this my soulmate or is this me?
That's a good thing that Kath and I have noticed too, is that with that type of thing, you are, and I think this happens with a lot of people, you are so much alike. You know, so it goes nice and smooth.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's the eternal mate, the other half of you, usually you're the opposite of them. So they're learning all these. They actually, when you get into spirit, you are one, and then they split down into the two, the eternal mate and the soul mate, or twin flame. So therefore, they're doing all these things you wouldn't do and learn, and I'm learning all these things they wouldn't learn. And when we get together in spirit, we learn twice as much. Okay, so that's why it would be opposite, you know. And people say
Me
that.
and
Well,
Tecti are pretty opposite in most ways,
Yeah.
but we get.
There's underlying love though, and a powerful heart base, you know, and spiritual connection too, and sometimes mind too.
I just want to say for those of you who are joining us, you are with the Ask Your Angels talk show, and we're here with Alan Green, and we're evolving and. I'm never going to say it right again.
Homonoeticus.
Thank you, is here.
Yes, that's where we're becoming multisensory beings.
I should have just stopped at the beginning and not even just
Right.
entered that again.
Another thing too is that there are like I said, that spirit took me on those journeys and took me all over the place to experience things. But I was there. I felt myself walking in the streets and everything else. But another thing that can do that is orbs. Now, you get pictures because of the technical age with cameras that are digital cameras. It's energy, and whatever is there is recorded on energy. So energy is recorded on energy. So therefore, orbs show up a lot in people's cameras, and it's usually based on the person. You know, like a person can take thousands of pictures and not have any pictures, but all of a sudden one day they feel very spiritual or they're connected, and then they got orbs in their picture. That happened with me, and it's on my website.
So the orbs aren't people from the other side? Because a lot of ghost trackers think that the orbs are spirits or ghosts.
Yeah, I think in a lot of cases they're ones that have never been on any human experience. They're very pure and very light. They're not harmful at all. And some people say they're angels, and some people they say they're guides and everything. But I think they're just beings that are coming in and helping us. I have pictures on my website of a guy who has an orb over his head like this. He had a brain operation there, and the orb is constantly there, protecting that. Another orb I got on the website, and it describes it. There's a big orb by this girl's hip. She had a car accident in California, and that seems to be protecting that area. So orbs do a lot of different things. But the one thing for taking you somewhere is you can be a single mom at work, and you're looking down you're staring down at the carpet on the floor, and you can't take your eyes off that. You're just staring and staring. And what's happening is that orb is acting like a portal. And what it's doing is giving you a portal to your kids at daycare. And
now, do you physically see through this, or is it more of a knowing, like you just
can actually
envision in your head?
It's like looking at a television, you know, and it's quite clear, and you can see it very clearly, but you don't really realize you're doing it. You're just thinking, you say, oh yeah, my kids are doing fine, and then you come out of it, you know. So
you're kind of doing it, but when you're reflecting on it, you think it's in your head.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, it's funny. You know, we have a spiritual networking group every week, and Karen is our waitress. We took a photo of Karen. I don't know if this could be an orb, but she was holding her tray up like this, the round tray.
Yeah.
We took a photo, and it came out see-through. It looked like a big orb, but it was a solid tray, but it became see-through. So I don't know if that could just be a glitch with a camera, but I've never seen a solid turn into something transparent, and it looked like a giant orb. It was the coolest thing.
Well, then there must have been an orb in front of it.
That's what we're thinking.
Yeah.
But it was huge. It was just...
And Catherine's late husband, when he passed over in August 2005, went instantly looking for somebody for her and found me. And in September 2005, a month after he died, he gave me a vision of Catherine. And he took me into the future, and to a place where I was at my stepfather's funeral. My stepfather is still alive, and here was Catherine and I at this funeral, and I didn't know what Catherine, who she was, but I looked at that picture and said, whatever that is, I'm going to wait for that, because that is what I want in a relationship. She was bubbly and loving, and there was an incredible connection. And I had women coming into my life over the next couple of months who wanted to be in a permanent relationship. I refused all of them. Because if I would have, it would have thrown the timeline for meeting Catherine, which was a couple of months later.
I always tell people, too, a lot of girlfriends of mine always say, why do I keep dating these losers, or why am I so unhappy? Why don't they treat me well, And I always say, you know what? that perfect person is out there waiting for you, but it's a timing issue.
It is.
And you have to, maybe your angels are bringing you these people to make sure that you don't get really involved with someone for real until you meet the person you're meant to be with.
Very wise. And another thing with that too is that if you want to be, if you're a very sloppy person and you're drunk and you're smoking or something, and you're going to attract that type of person. And so if you want to meet somebody who's the best you can be, then be the best you can be yourself. And if you clean up your act and you're a healthy person and lively and excited about life, that's the type of person who's going to meet you in the future. And another thing with that too is that you say, well, I put it out there. Well, the universe knows you put it out there, but it has to. Maybe that person's in a relationship and has to break up.
That's exactly. That happened with one of my very best friends. And same conversation. Like, she was really devastated when she broke up with this guy. She thought he was the one.
Yeah.
And I said, you have to understand that this person, your soulmate that's coming, because I saw him, I said, he's in a relationship. These things have to coordinate. They have to end at the right time so that you're both free to find each other. So a few months later, she met the man she married. Now she's really happy.
And then you can form relationships of other parts of you with other people. So when you're in a marriage, you create a thing called the relationship. It actually is a shape of a human idea that is both male and female, and that is the relationship. And often when people split up, that doesn't know where it's going to go to, and it hangs around and they keep pulling back together. So if you can, one of them definitely says this is over, then that dissolves. And it happens with the business too. I knew a lady who had a business with a man. They formed the business together, and the spirit showed up in her doorway, and she called me at 3 in the morning and said, "What is this?" And I went, it was the business. So they had created this thing called the other, which is the business, and it came to her and in the night wondering who belonged to, because they were partners, and then it would go to him in the middle of the night and say, "Who do I belong to?" And then it came to her, and I said, well, just tell this business that you are the one who is taking over the business. It belongs to you. And it never came again. So we're also, we have our guides around us, and then above us, right above us, is the 7th dimension. Then we have a higher self, then a soul, then an oversoul. So the higher the 7th dimension is a place when you're meditating, and you can actually project yourself above yourself just a little bit, and you're in 7th dimension. And 7th dimension is where you can travel anywhere on the planet in spirit.
I was going to say, I think that's probably where I was when I saw that utopia, or that beautiful wintry place.
Okay. Yes, because it's very vast.
It felt like heaven.
And with me, I when I went there, I said, well, what do I want to do? I want to go visit the Dalai Lama. And I said that's kind of uppity, but I said maybe this will work. So I found myself go hip-scotch. I went like California, Hawaii, China, and I just wham right into the very room where the Dalai Lama stays, just south of Tibet, in this monastery type thing. And I came flying in energy, and I knocked over some chairs and tables, and there was some guy sitting with the Dalai Lama, and he just scared the living daylights out of him. But the Dalai Lama saw me. So he escorted me outside. I sat on a hard chair for about 6 hours, it felt. And then he came out and we worked together and everything was fine. So he actually knew that could happen. But another one where I went to check out somewhere else. I found myself in Australia, 83-year-old Aboriginal guy with a bunch of sticks on his back. And he was in the outback and he just felt he could do anything. Well, all of a sudden he had enough of water. He was delirious. He was delusional. And he would have died. It was too hot. I came inside his body. I gave him some water that was spiritual, and it nurtured him. And we found our way back to the tribe. And he said, I'm never going to do that again. I'm too old to do this anymore on my own.
And he probably thought you were a guardian angel.
True.
So
he didn't even know I was there.
Oh, he didn't?
There's the very day he never knew. Maybe that is an aspect of me, for all I know.
Oh, okay.
So then another thing, I'll talk to a person. I said, from here in the 7th dimension, you can view anybody on the planet. And this guy said, I see my sister. I said, where is she? Well, she's in Lebanon. She's sleeping. She's wearing a red top and white pants. And I went, well, okay, cool. I didn't think anything of it. Well, the next day he phones home to Lebanon, talks to his sister, what were you wearing last night when you were sleeping? A red top and white pants. And then another lady was in Australia, and or she's from Australia. We in our retreat we got people coming from all over the world. So we had two groups from California. We had a lady from Australia, Afghanistan. The internet's wonderful. They find us and they come to Canada, rent a car, fly into Ottawa, come to our home. It's really cool. So this one lady was from Australia. He's a really close friend of ours now. And I said, from here in the seventh dimension, you can see anybody on the planet. Well, she focuses back to Australia. She says, my boyfriend's got this big green crystal for me. He's going to give it to me when I come back to Australia. So, I said, well, that's cool. I didn't think it would really happen. Well, she gets off the plane, and he's got the crystal right there for her. So she tried to pretend she was, surprised.
That's cool.
So you can be in many different places at once, Yeah.
Is that the same as, how you always hear people say, oh my gosh, I think I saw your twins. I saw your, everybody.
A doppelganger or something like that?
Yeah, doppelganger. Everyone seems to have at least one or two.
Yeah.
You think that's what it is? Or do people actually do look alike?
I was in Montreal one time when I was 18 and with a bunch of people for a marching drum corps. And I had a girl, and we went down into this club idea, and we came back up, and friends are waiting at the top, and they went, how did you do that? Why? Well, I saw you and her come up in different clothes. We talked to you and everything, and you left. And we were actually two people who looked exactly the same as we do now.
And you think that was a coincidence, or that might have been both of you?
It might have been both of us in some situation. I don't know what about that. If I don't know, I just don't say.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. And so another thing too is you can be like a lot of us are much more magnificent than we think we are. So when we're out in space and we can actually you can be a beautiful being hovering over the earth, sending back love, or you help sending healing. You're sending helping with the crystal good around the earth, helping with what Cryon does with the electromagnetic grid or something like that. And you're beaming at the planet. So there's billions of us around the planet in spirit, sending love to the planet.
Does that have anything to do with the sound? Have you heard about the sound?
No.
There's a sound that's being heard all over the world.
Oh.
And it's almost like a
angelic choir or something?
Well,
the grids are stretching.
The grids are
Grids are
stretching.
stretching,
It's I guess people's different perception. Like for me, it almost sounded like, trumpets and humming, almost like a yoga
Okay.
Like for me, it was very uplifting.
Wow.
I thought, I'm hearing heaven. The veil's getting thinner. I'm hearing heaven. Other people are quite frightened, and they're saying all sorts of things. Like there's underground cavities for military, and we're hearing machines in the center of the earth, and all sorts of things like that.
Yeah. Well, and when you're outside of a planet like that, there has to be one of you on the planet to have you do that. If you're in spirit and you're sending love to the planet, because of free will, you can't do that unless there's one of you on the planet. And another thing with that too is when you're saying about the hum and everything, back in the 1990s, I had a couple of spiritual friends that we were in touch with all the time on the phone, and I would go to work and I'd be drained from 10 o'clock to 11:15, and then my energy come flying back, and then in the afternoon from 3 till 4:30, it'd go again and then it'd come back. And so because we're on the phone all the time, I say, this happened to me, and they go, that happened to me at the very same time. So what we did was we all coordinated, and it happened for about almost a month period. We documented exactly, and it was exactly down to the minute that we all lost our energy. And this is where we were actually giving part of our spirit to help the crystal grid on the planet, repairing the crystal grid so more light could come in. And so, and then as soon as that was done, and it wasn't just us, it was like millions of people around the planet were doing this.
Maybe that's what the sound is.
The hum of that, where many of us are working on one project or something too. Yeah, yeah. I love it. It's good. And then, I remember one lady. She said she started going out into space, and the type of work I do can get a bit convoluted because you never know what's going to take you. People can have implants in them, and implants come from yourself. Sometimes you put your own personal implant in to protect yourself, or some other being, or even alien or whatever.
Now, there's some people out there probably saying, what are implants?
Yeah, and they can be transmitters. So maybe your home planet wants to have you transmit information back, or maybe they want to send you information too. And also, an implant can be in there to stop you doing certain things and prevent you from doing things. And I have removed up to 57 implants from one person. So with that, the alien thing can be quite common. Where a lady, she said, I want to see about my true nature and everything, and why I'm here, and what my purpose is. So she saw herself go into space, and she's a 9-foot alien. And I said, and I'm thinking this is a petite little thing on my couch, but my God, she's actually a 9-foot alien. And so she went back to her home planet, and it was devastated. There was nothing there. That's why she came to Earth. There was no reason for staying there. So she went down into a volcano, and there was this oval table, and there was about 12 aliens sitting around. But she looked human, but they were alien. And I looked across the way, and there's this alien, and it's flashing a burnt almond eye at me, or burnt red eye at me, and another green eye, and it flashing at me. And I said to her, do you notice any of these people around here are aliens that is connected with you? And she goes, the one right across the way is flashing his eyes at me. And I said, tune into his vibration. It's my husband now. So what was kind of cool with that, I said, what are you doing here? And she goes, we meet every 2 weeks, and we discuss. They come from different places in the universe and discuss what we've learned, and we share, and we catch up.
Like a little group.
It is.
A little meetup group.
And then she goes, and I went, what do you mean? And she says, since I was 2 years old, every 2 weeks, and this happens all her life, I go away somewhere in a dream at night, and I come back, and I don't want to come back.
That's like this place I told you about, the Winter Wonderland place.
Yeah.
I didn't want to come back, Alan.
You can probably go back there again.
I'm trying.
And her
so
spirit might have
peaceful.
actually come and got you and taken you there. That could be her sacred space.
It could be.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
It was so beautiful, though.
Yeah.
I guess that's why I associated it with heaven, is that people say when they've been touched by heaven, near-death experience, they don't want to come back.
Was it just recently?
It felt like that. It was just a few weeks ago.
So what happens is, in your life right now, you're going through a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so you needed to know that there was a place.
A safe haven somewhere.
And that was, beautiful and clean and crisp and not cold. And that's why that happened. To give you hope to keep on going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Yeah. It's all
I
necessary.
wish I could take everybody watching to this place. It's a great place.
Yeah. And one thing about, too, is that we all connect to each other. And we have bonds, our children are somewhere out on the planet on a bus trip or something, and we can feel them. We're actually attached to them. We're probably sitting in the seat beside them on the bus in spirit. And I have that connection with men. And I don't have very many men friends, and I always wonder why they got out of my life. They could be close and they disappear. I have men I can call now, and they're just the best buddies. And but I actually connect with the men. If the man's sick, I get sick too. Mm-hmm. And I kind of actually help them work it through. A friend of mine had prostate problems, and I started having prostate problems, and I'm having a problem with the prostate. And for 3 months, it's really serious. And then all of a sudden, he had the prostate operation, and all of a sudden, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon one day, all that just disappeared out of me. And that's when he had his operation. So it's kind of the way we help each other, like that too. Yeah. So we talk well. Yeah. So wow, what have we got here? I've got about 50 different things I'm talking about here, and it goes. So we had interesting thing happen at the last show I was at, where somebody online was being overly gregarious or something with the chat thing. And anybody chatting at all, by the way? No?
Yeah, you guys are so quiet tonight.
No questions?
Nobody has any questions?
Okay.
Really?
Wow.
Wow.
Must be mesmerized by what we're saying.
That must be it. Or they're like Tanya.
Yeah. She needs a rest, I suppose. But where this first person, because they were that way, they had to be cut off the chat, and they projected part of their spirit to this room, to me, and they actually tried to prevent me from continuing on.
Alan started choking.
I started choking. And there's a thing that we do with holy water. You say, this is holy water, you drink it, and it stops the choking. But this person did not wish me well. It wasn't personal. They didn't even know they were doing it. But they were mad at the show for cutting them off, and I was the talker. So
don't make us mad or we're going to cut you off.
Yeah. And then you can do a group thing where you go to a different realm and communicate just like that with you and her. As I was working with the natives in Arizona, and I got to know the head guy, and he asked me if I could come and be a part of their native group. And I was there for about 5 days in Sedona. And I said, sure, I mean, great opportunity. He said, we're going to pick you up at midnight. Well, native time is 11 o'clock, 11:30, 12:30, 1 o'clock, whatever. So you just wait for them to show up. And then we go out in the desert, or we go to sometimes the mountains and to the forest. And we would have an agenda of some topic we wanted to talk about. And then from the time we made that commitment until the sun rose up, we talked telepathically. I've never been able to do it before or since. And what happens with that is we went to another dimension that was higher. If we would find that if we went down into the human 3D, it would block it, and you'd be, and the rest of the group would actually pull you back up into that dimension of being on the same level. And it was so smooth.
What dimension was that?
Well,
do you know?
Probably fifth dimension. At the time, fifth dimension, we're living in fifth dimension right now.
Mm-hmm.
But at that time, back in the 90s, it was you had to move it. Back in the 80s, actually, when I did past lives, the people would be lying on the table, and they would actually feel themselves levitate from third dimension to fifth dimension, so that they could have an equal movement and everything. And that was very common back then. But now we're automatically just there. So when we were in the telepathic thing with that, you would communicate, and I love the human voice. So it was unnerving for me because I love hearing people's voice. I feel the vibration, the resonance, and singing and stuff like that. So even though the telepathic thing is very more efficient, I love the human thing even more. And you would pause, and somebody would talk, and oh, it's that person there. Because there's no sense of who is really around you anymore. You can see the person in a way, but you're on such a high level with that everything's out of focus, and everything is more a connection of the spirit and the mind together. So it was really... So that's another way you can project yourself somewhere else in a group and then communicate together.
You know the one thing I'm not going to like about heaven?
Okay.
Hugs. I like hugs.
And they don't have hugs in heaven?
Well, I don't know.
Oh.
I figure if we're spiritual beings and we get rid of our bodies and everything, then how do we hug?
Yeah. Could
this
it be
is a real concern for me, Alan.
Oh my God, it's serious.
It is.
I'll work on the rest of my life figuring that out for you. And I will give you updates every week of what I come up with, and maybe one of them will work for you.
All right, I hope so.
Because energy hugs,
I love hugs.
Yeah, they're great. I think everybody needs hugs to survive.
Mm-hmm.
When you think of people who are so cold and everything that they never ever have had a chance to really feel a hug, and they shut down and they don't kiss and stuff like that, I don't know.
I think the hug is a transference of energies, and I think we need that. Mm-hmm. Like we need the sun.
Mm-hmm. And Catherine and I hug on the heart side all the time. So this side over here is not the heart side. So when you look at Ellen DeGeneres and you look at Oprah Winfrey, whenever they hug on television, it's always on that side, because it's a social hug. Now this side, if you hug on this side, my heart is lined up with your heart. And it's more intimate.
Okay.
And it's harder.
How did you hug me when you came in?
Catherine and I always hug on the heart side.
How do we hug?
Yeah, Catherine always said that. So do I. So we went, we find that you have a spiritual group and you hug on that side. They go, okay, that's a human hug. Let's have a spiritual hug now.
Oh, that's so nice.
Mm-hmm. It really does resonate, but it's very intimate. Mm-hmm. So you have to really trust, that you're going to be okay that way. Yeah.
Thank you. We should have a whole show on hugs.
Yeah.
I'd like that.
Yeah. Hug animals and everything like that. Another thing, too, is that animals can project themselves like that, too. They can take their spirit and put it somewhere else as well. So I knew a girl, and we went on a trip to Belleville to be in a spiritual group, and she has an orange cat named Andy, and he loves her very deeply, and he's alone in the apartment. for a couple of days. So all of a sudden I look over and she's got her knee up like this and she's sitting on the couch and she's going like this. And I'm going, what is she doing? She's stroking something. And she goes, Andy. And it was Andy. And I looked and all of a sudden I could see him really clearly and he's purring and she's petting on her. So he was at home but he was there with her. And then we have a cat named Lucky, which is Lucky Seven Toes. He's got those extra toes on the front. He's just a doll.
Lucky Seven Toes.
We have Lotsu and Lucky and Buddy. It was a Maine Coon. And we have a black kid named Clarky who's got bedroom eyes. So we have him call him Clark Gable. Idea. And we have a new one.
I'd like to astral travel back and see Clark Gable.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. So what happened with this is, I saw the movie Gone with the
You dirty rat! No.
I saw the movie Gone with the Wind 48 times.
Really?
It's a 4-hour movie.
48 times.
I saw the whole movie 48 times.
Wow.
Why?
Well, it's kind of like me, Sleepless in Seattle. You've got mail.
No, that's a bit crazy. 48 times, especially a 4-hour movie.
That's 2 hours.
I was an usher in the theater where they had it, back when they had ushers.
Oh my goodness, Alan, really? Was that a past life? Are you really that old?
I'm really that old. And
you set yourself up for that.
Oh, wow. So I will be back on the show. It's been nice knowing you folks.
No.
And, I hope she has really good success with the future people. So what happens with this Lucky, the cat, we have a green area by our driveway, and then there's a couple of trees. We have a lot of trees that start off as one and break into two. And they're kind of sweetheart things. And we got married right there with one of those trees. But there's this green area before there, just a solid green area for about 10 foot square. And I'm in the summertime last year, and I look, and I see this kind of fuzzy energy forming. And I went, what's that? And I looked, and all of a sudden, out of that fuzzy energy comes the cat. There was just the green grass, then the fuzzy energy appeared, and the cat came out of it. And came up to me, and I went, whoa.
You mentioned this
He'd
before.
gone to a different dimension.
You can actually see them just kind of disappear.
Yeah. I didn't see him disappear. I only seen him come.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to seeing them disappear sometime. I'll maybe try and follow them. I don't know. So then, that was cool, but you kind of need verification. So later on that year in September or something, I looked and he did it again.
Cats are amazing creatures.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they see things we don't see.
Yeah.
I'm upstairs and I'm with Jonah, and I already think Jonah's part human, but, I'm sitting there and all of a sudden Jonah's like this and he's looking up at the ceiling. And he's like all over, and his eyes are darting and he's watching. I said, wow, I must have a lot of angels up there, eh, buddy? You're checking them all out. They're all hovering over me. That's what it looked like. He was looking at something.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember I was in I used to have fun because I was a delivery service person, and sometimes you're at a light and you kind of, well, what can I do? And I would project myself above my truck.
Was that when they took the milk to the doors? I'm sorry.
Actually, it was the horse and the wagon.
I love you.
I actually remember that. There really was. And one guy, they had the wagon. Of course, it had car tires on it, but it was a wagon with a horse, and they delivered the milk, and it was the bottles. And he was a beautiful man. We loved him dearly. And all of a sudden he came by and said, I'm quitting my job. Why? Because the horse got away on him, and he was careening down the road, this horse going full gallop, and the cart overturned, all the milk bottles broke, and he didn't get hurt, but he was shook up. He phones his boss and says what happened, and the first guy says, so how's the horse? Who cares about? So that was it. They don't really care about me, so he quit the job. So there's my milk story, horse. Sorry. Yeah.
I don't know why they stopped doing that,
Well, it's just not convenient. I know it's nice to have that type of thing, but refrigeration, problems like that and everything, because the milk would come unrefrigerated.
Oh, right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you didn't really need to refrigerate milk back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're squeaking over there, tech guy. We're wondering what you're doing. Squeaky noises.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So yeah, and it's so there's other things too where you can have people come to you and take you on journeys. Like we've been talking a lot about that now.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Arizona and I was in Sedona, and I dreamed I was on Bell Rock, and I was hanging and I fell off the rock and was hanging onto a tree, which was breaking away. I looked up and there's this little native guy standing, on the rock, and he puts down his hand and says, "Let go of the tree and grab onto my wrist." And I went, "Are you crazy? The only thing I got is this tree. If I let go, I'm going to fall." And all of a sudden the tree starts breaking some more, and I realize I have to grab onto his wrist. So the thing is, you grab like that, because the fingers could lose. And he pulled me right up on the mountain, and he pointed his finger at me. He's got the full headdress. He's got the staff and everything with the feathers, and he's
very strong, obviously.
Well, but he was so short. He was actually shorter than I was. And he pointed a finger at me and says, "You and mankind will benefit if you have faith." And that's what I needed at that time, right? And it just shook me. I mean, it was really neat. And I went and I remembered his face. And so I went in a directory of all the natives in the area that do things. And this guy was named Sun Bear. And he actually lives on the planet. This was May, and he died in June. And even though he was in hospital and delirious, he was still taking people on journeys and helping them. So that was, so somebody came to you and took you on a journey. When you do automatic writing, I've been doing it since 1992.
That's where you don't know what you're writing. You just put the pen
exactly.
down. I write poetry like that. It just comes, and it's like someone's feeding it to me.
And what it is usually is your higher self. So and that's another thing too, is our higher self is above us. Well, we have our guides, then we have our seventh dimension, then we have our higher self, and the higher self is you, but on another dimension. And it's the one of you that helps you through all the goals and intention and what you want to do in your life, big picture. And then above that's your soul, and then above that's your oversoul, which is a direct connection with God. And
so the higher self,
and
does
the
that
oversoul,
higher self see all your past lives?
Yes.
Would they?
Yes.
So they would have all the talents of your past lives.
And they would know how they all fit together. They connect you to your life book, which is the Akashic Records. And we tune into that every day. You can say, okay, I want to learn this lesson this week, or whatever, or go through this and meet this person, and it's all contracted that way.
I believe that these children that are extremely gifted, they start playing the piano like Mozart at the age of 3.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. Is their higher self recalls their past life, perhaps where they had learned it.
Yeah.
And now that it was bringing it forward.
And exactly. And what's magnificent on the planet right now is that our higher selves and oversouls are merging with us. They're actually coming. Catherine and I have had that happen. Where a couple of years ago, my higher self came right down inside me, and then all of a sudden, a couple of years later, the oversoul came down inside me. So this is all unifications happening on the planet right now. That's unbelievable.
There's no telling what we can do
if
we have that ability.
So in the morning writings, I in my higher self, and when you do poetry or when somebody writes a song, there's a universal consciousness that goes around though. And I remember when I wrote a song called Wide, Wide Circle. I was in Perry Sound, and I was looking at a bay. It was all snow covered, and I thought of this wide, wide circle back to the one you love. You go on out and on a trip or something, come back to the one you love, or go away from them and come back. And I wrote that song that week, and I found out that week, A Long and Winding Road was written. And all these songs about wide and all
we're all
this.
around the same time.
Yeah. So there was a collective consciousness at that time that I tapped into. So when you're doing automatic writing, your higher self is usually coming through you, but every once in a while, someone will project themselves to you, and they'll say, "Hi, this is Stephanie," and okay, and then all of a sudden you can hear their voice. And I did this with a girl who I knew that had a Philadelphia accent. So it's really heavy, you can tell it. She starts ramming on about her life. I went, I better write this down. So I'm writing it down, 6 pages. And at the time we didn't have internet, and so I phoned her and I read it over the phone. And she goes, "This is the deepest secrets that I didn't even know about myself, but that is me." And so then I sent it to her. She took it to her girlfriend in Germany, and the girlfriend said, "That is amazing." So she actually trusted me enough. She couldn't say it herself, but she sent it to me so I could send it back to her.
That is a terrific story.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and in the Twilight Zone, there's many incredible stories, words like that. So there's no questions, eh? Nobody asked any questions.
I can't believe how quiet you guys are.
Yeah.
Nothing?
Tough.
Well, they're hanging on to your every word. That's all it can be.
I think it is.
We have
Nope.
Is that we have some, but you're filtering them, or we have?
Well, actually, we're actually almost done here because it's almost 10 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about Homo universalis beings.
I'm glad I didn't have
Say
to
that
say
one.
that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, it's not even written on the sheets. Okay, so Homonoeticus is multisensory beings. Homo universalis beings is what we're becoming as far as we're connected to the universe. And we're connected to the universe in through the Galactic Federation of Light and all the star beings and the Arcturians and the Sirians and the Pleiadians and the Lyrians and it just goes on, Orions. And so these are all parts of these beings that are helping us connect and be one with the universe. So do you want to do that little thing where we go out into the universe?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Okay.
That's kind of neat.
Well, let's do it.
Yeah. And
I won't close my eyes because I've already done this.
Okay.
But I'll let you do it with the audience.
Yeah,
You guys have to try this.
It's kind of neat. And so what we're going to do is a little exercise to experience what it's like. And I know about all of you, it's a good experience. There's never any negative with this one. And what you do is you close your eyes and feel your body. And of course we have auras around our body. So about 6 inches around our body there's always heat coming off. So you can see Krillin photography and things like that. You can see energy around you. Now all you can do is expand that energy around your body. It's an aura. Expand that aura to go maybe 3 or 4 feet from your body. Then it fill the whole room you're in. Then it fill the whole building that you're in. Then have it fill the whole area that you live in, like a subdivision or apartment building area or whatever, around you with parks. Then have it fill all of southern Ontario, or wherever you're calling from. Have it fill all of Ontario. Have your aura expand and fill all of Canada. Then all of North America. Then feel that aura expand and fill the whole world. You can feel the whole world. Then have it expand out into the stars and have it expand, amongst all the planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Mercury, Venus. Just feel your whole aura expand and fill the whole galaxy. Then have it go through a wormhole, this aura go through a wormhole into another galaxy. And have your energy and aura expand and fill that whole galaxy. And by now, you're pretty lightheaded probably. I'm very lightheaded just even talking about it. And with this, when we did it this morning, there were people who had tears in their eyes because they could feel the oneness in the universalis of things, of everything. Then I got them to come back from that other galaxy, and nobody wanted to come back really. A lot of people wanted to just stay in that wonderful feeling. Came back from out of the galaxy through that wormhole into our galaxy, then back down to Earth, back down to North America, back down to Canada, back down to Ontario, back down to the city or wherever you live in this area, and then back right down into the room you're in, and then really close to your body. So what that was, your aura expanded, right? You could feel it. But it wasn't your aura, it's your soul. Your soul is around your body, and it's most intense around your body. But you can see, because it expanded like that, that your soul goes out through the whole universe. And this is how we're connected. And so that was an experiment just to show you. I just invented it to show people, and it works pretty good. I got some other things, ideas too, going back to source and gathering from the source energy and bringing it back. That's one of the, for rejuvenating you, that type of thing.
Oh, can you share that one?
Well, that would have been the same thing, but we go to source, to the light source, and you take some of the energy and come back. But
okay.
Well, maybe do it privately. So there's new children on the planet right now. Of course, we have the indigos. Then the crystal indigos. I thought went up till about 1995. Catherine and I are starseed indigos. We came on the planet Lemuria. Then in the 1900s they called us Indigo Scouts. And then the indigo children started, there's a lot of things saying from the harmonic convergence in 1987 up until 1996. And then the star children of the rainbow came in, and they are the ones that are the teachers. And the indigos were the ones who were changing the vibration. Then after the Indigos in 2001, the Crystal Rainbow, the Golden Children came in 2001, and they're the leaders. And so the teachers, the leaders, and the ones that change things. And then the Love Children came in 2010, and children and parents are very protective of them because they even homeschool them and everything because they're so precious. And then in 2011, the first Homo universalis child came in, and born near London, Ontario, a female. And I went to see her, and she talked to me, and she told me that there's another universalis child, a female, being born in Wyoming, and it was born last November. And then this year, another one is being born in Brussels, a boy. So this is the first of that, and they are cosmically connected, and they're planting that seed right on the planet right now. They could never come in.
Children are our future.
They are.
Teach them well. Let them lead.
Oh, I was going to sing that. Oh,
Show
that
them
is
all
so.
the beauty
We
that
have
possess
inside. Yeah. Okay. You sing that
And
song.
Whitney, we love you.
Yes,
we
we
should
do.
say that too.
Blessings. So with that, I'll give you an example of, I know we can maybe call it a night because it's 10:02, but I'll give you an example of how my soul saw something that was way far away from me, because I was not only here, I was out in the universe, and I'm on the other side of the world at the same time and everything. So I was driving home from Guelph, Ontario, towards Kitchener, and there's a place called Breslau. So you're heading towards Kitchener, and the lights of Kitchener are down below you, and you come up to this light, and the car's on a bit of an incline like this, and it's facing northwest. So it's a pitch black sky, and it's about 2 in the morning or something like that. And I look up to the sky, and all of a sudden there's this explosion, this flare hit, and it just, and then all these pieces of fire came off it, and flares came down, and I went, whoa, that was really, really vivid. And so I didn't think anything of it. You know, I have a lot of things that happened to me. But then the next day I hear that the Russians shot down that passenger plane over Korea area in that sea area. And I went, I saw that. But that's like 4,000 or 5,000 miles away. How could I see that? It's because my soul was already there. I could see it. It's as if I was right there watching it. And so I went back to Breslau, and I took a compass reading and where it would be, and also measured the time. And exactly that time, our time, was when it was shot down.
And maybe you were over there helping souls.
Passover?
Mm-hmm.
We do that. You know, that's another level too, is where, you know, we help people who have crossed. Like a lot of people do that. Some people, that's their whole mission. You know, they say, people come to me all the time that are lost, that have passed, and I help them cross over. So we're not only doing that here on the planet, but we're also helping there too. So it's wondrous. It's magical. It's where we're evolving to, and we're becoming more and more aware of it.
And that makes it such an exciting time to live.
Yeah.
Because we're becoming aware.
Yeah,
and we're sharing it with you.
Thank you.
And we would have loved to have heard from you tonight, so please feel free to leave your comments on our blog TV wall. Let us know what you thought of the show, and thank you so much, Alan, for coming back.
It's been a blast. I enjoyed this so much.
It was so much fun,
yeah.
And hopefully we'll have Catherine on again soon, and wish you all a good night. But before I go, I just want to say that next week we have Heidi McBradney coming on, and she is a shaman. We're going to do spiritual realms, misguided souls, and Mother Earth. So it's going to be a really, I guarantee you, a super interesting show, just like tonight's. And I hope you can join us at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
She also is a Peruvian too. She's not Peruvian, but she knows a lot of shamans in Peru. So she's going to bring that Peruvian shamanism.
Yes.
In many ways.
There's, I talked to her. There's just so much that she has to share. And she'll be taking a trip soon too, and she's going to talk about that as well. Yeah. So, and if you'd like to check her out before the show, you can go to www.soulsinprogress.com. Thanks. And hey, check out our website, www.alangreen.ca and www.askyourangels.ca. Have a great night, and we'll see you next week.
Blessings. Thank you.